Great. Thank you, David. And thank you all for your attendance. Perhaps you'll allow me at such a focused meeting to share one common understanding and common mindset that we might all have at this meeting, which is to say that as an industry, as we see an aging population with increasing amounts of chronic degenerative diseases, that we've really failed these patients as an industry. And through the lessons that we've learned through molecular understanding and pathway understanding of complex diseases, that our approaches have largely failed these patients. And that's why we're all here, in fact, is that we see cellular therapy as a way through that complex biology to bring forward a unique machinery that allows us to address these problems with the full functionality of a cell, rather than, in many instances, such as in Parkinson's disease, where a fully functional cell is required, we can no longer drug these disease cells back to their full functionality. Or perhaps even more relevant in such a disease as cardiomyopathy, where the cells are in fact dead themselves, we can't drug them back to functionality. And so it's with this mission in heart that my slides will advance. It's one big green button. Can I get the next slide, please? Oh, okay. It's with this mission in heart that Bluerock Therapeutics was founded. And in fact, our mission is to do just that, to bring back fully functional cells to this disease and patient setting. And if you will allow me to give you an outline and an introduction to our company, Bluerock Therapeutics, by telling you about the three core capabilities that we've sought to build up and in fact continue to build at Bluerock Therapeutics. The first of those is the technology itself. As the technology itself that we call cell plus gene. Now, cell plus gene for us refers to the ability to create and differentiate any cell type within the body, and then to take that cell and edit any gene within that cell to enhance its therapeutic capability. And we take that into two different modalities. The first modality we call our authentic cellular replacement. And by this we mean the ability to fully differentiate and mature the exact same cell that has been dysfunctional in that disease setting. So we look to match the disease with the cell type that is dysfunctional. And we look to replace and restore that full functionality of that cell type to then change the trajectory of that disease. The second modality that you'll hear us talk about is our cell plus gene modality that we call engineered authentic cells. And this is to engineer those cell types. You can think through simply engineering them for the introduction of a payload for therapeutic benefit, perhaps an enzyme or a complex protein therapeutic, or the ability to create a universal cell, the holy grail of much of our cellular therapy. So in fact, Bluerock Therapeutics is an iPSC-based platform company where we take a highly curated, high-quality donor starting material, be that blood or other cell types from the body, and then we reprogram these cells to put them back into the pluripotent state so that we can use these cells to differentiate into any cell type that we desire for that matched cell disease link. Now we could take this moment, this clonal moment of a cellular beginning of our drug product, and go straight to expansion and differentiation into the final drug product that we desire. Or we can take this moment, this clonal moment, and use it to engineer the cells. And as I spoke already, we can do this for engineering for tolerance of the cell type within the human body, such as a universal acceptable cell, or to add payload to the cell to benefit and enhance its therapeutic capability in a given disease setting with complex biologics such as enzymes or multipotent proteins. So we've spent a lot of effort actually within Bluerock building up the capabilities, because while we all talk about the simplicity of CRISPR biotech technologies and editing of the genome, even in the last few weeks we've seen the power of doing this correctly. And so we've spent a lot of time studying the genome, both in its pluripotent stem cell state, as well as in its differentiated state, looking for the right locations and the right payloads to put into those locations when we seek that enhanced functionality of our engineered cells. And then translating this into full GMP workflows is by no means a simplistic but still quite a bit of an art form. And we've spent quite a bit of time doing that as well. And we've done this with the help of partnering. And so I come here today to talk to you about many of those partnerships that we've had and invite you to come speak to us as we build these capabilities to help harness these capabilities for patients. And you'll know, if you'll know Bluerock, you'll know of our long-standing relationship with Editas Medicine, that we've licensed their technology in our disease areas of interest to help us edit the genome of our cells, and as well as a recent announcement just this past spring with Senti Biosystems, who's here at this meeting today, to collaborate with them on the inclusion of complex genetic circuitry within our products, for you can think of and/or gates or other complex biologies. Now, I could probably spend the entire rest of the minutes that I have left with you to talk about the importance of manufacturing and the importance of putting much of our efforts into manufacturing, but in fact, I'm only going to share one slide with you today. And that slide is really to talk about the efforts that we've put into those capabilities. We have, in fact, 3 different manufacturing sites already both operational and coming online soon. The first of those is in Toronto, Canada, where we hold our pilot GMP manufacturing for both process development quality as well as pilot manufacturing for the clinic. And in fact, we're currently in the clinic with materials. And our next facility in this picture in the middle is the Cambridge facility that's coming online later next year. That will be a pilot gene material, so that is for our Cell Plus Gene products coming online in Cambridge. And then finally, through the partnership and the acquisition by Bayer Pharmaceuticals, our parent company, we've broken ground and have construction of our first commercial site that is in support of our clinical trials that I'll tell you about in just a minute. It's this full capability that we're harnessing to build our pipeline, and in fact is the importance of paying attention to and having control of both the know-how as well as the expertise to bring these complex biologics to the clinic and eventually to the marketplace. So lastly, I want to talk to you about our product portfolio. Perhaps what all of these capabilities are driving to do is to bring products to these patients. Bluerock was originally founded with the help of 3 luminaries within the field that are known in the induced pluripotent stem cell field, and the inclusion of these founders into our company were part and parcel of our strategy of both entering the clinic and the foundational areas that we covered. The first of those you can see on the bottom here is with Gordon Keller. Now, Gordon has many different areas of biology that he touches. The one that we're collaborating on him most robustly with is in the development of cardiomyocytes, for which he's published tremendously on, and we're making great progress within this program. The second of our founders was Bruce Blazer, well known in the immunology field for efforts in both T cells and regulatory T cells as well as macrophages, and we have a growing pipeline of projects within this, although be it our earliest phases. And then finally, a very strong collaboration with Lorenz Studer's lab and Memorial Sloan Kettering, where we've used the past 20 years of both of his understanding and intricate learning of the different cell types, most notably that of dopaminergic neurons, for the treatment of Parkinson's disease, for which we filed an IND in collaboration with his lab and have our first ongoing clinical trial. Now, I don't need to tell you much about the devastating disease of Parkinson's disease, a chronic, debilitating, degenerative disease that affects millions of patients around the world. These patients suffer from both motor and non-motor symptoms that are very obvious to all of us, and many of us have experienced and seen the devastation of this disease firsthand. The medicine that is applied in this field has been around for the last 50 years, and while there is significant benefit to the patients when they initially take these medicines, they all know upon entering into this diagnosis that these medicines will begin to fail them as the disease progresses. And it's here where we bring in the authentic cellular medicine, which is our first product that has entered the clinical trials. We announced our first patient dosing in the spring of this past year, and have just recently gained FDA fast track approval as well. So I'm not going to go over all of the science that begets the strategy and the reason that we started here, but just share with you is that if you haven't read the papers for Dr. Studer's lab, I would encourage you to do so as an example of what the complex mechanism of a cell can do for a disease setting, such as in the Parkinson's preclinical models, where he used optogenetics to turn off the functionality of that cell once it's placed and engrafted into the model organism. And you can see that by shining a light on, you lose the functionality of that neuron that's firing and all of the capability of that cell and restoration of the disease. Now, we've recently published, in collaboration with some of the Bluerock employees as well as Dr. Studer's lab, 2 papers on the preclinical work that went into both the process development as well as the preclinical data for our filing. So I'll just share with you those publications as well as some of the data, intrinsic data that went into both demonstrating engraftment of those cells within the preclinical Parkinsonian rat model and then full restoration of that rat model with engraftment of the cells into those animals. So I've mentioned now DA01 is the name of our first product candidate. This is now fully in clinical, phase 1 clinical trial. We're really happy and excited by the progress that this trial is making, a first in its kind for us and for many in the field. And this is a multi-center, in fact, international trial that it will dose about 10 to 12 patients. It's an open label trial for advanced Parkinson's disease patients. And I won't be updating any of the information from this as we'll wait for the clinical data to come out at a conference. But in recent, as recently as this spring, we've expanded our therapeutic area through strategic collaborations. And again, I want to come back to the importance of strategic collaborations for Bluerock and Bluerock's evolution, and that is for the collaboration with Opsis Therapeutics, a company that is focused on the founding of creating retinal progenitor cells for disease indications in, such as inherited retinal diseases and blindness. And it's through this collaboration that we've recently announced that Bluerock has entered into a strategic collaboration to bring 3 of these products forward to clinical development. 3 of these products fully to clinical development, and it's a unique collaboration if you think about it in the field, because it's not only with us that are a subsidiary of Bayer Pharmaceuticals, but with Opsis Therapeutics, which is the subsidiary of Fujifilm. And so you can imagine that the coming together of all of this expertise is really to advance forward the field of ophthalmology in a way that we haven't seen to date. So Bluerock is one of a member of a cell and gene therapy strategy that Bayer Pharmaceutical has taken on several years ago, and we are the hallmark and the pillar of their cell therapy expertise. But recently they made another acquisition within that form of Ask Bio, which is in the gene therapy space. And the 2 subsidiary companies, while we interact together, we have an arm's length agreement with Bayer Pharmaceuticals that allows us complete control of the execution and operational elements of the company and of cell therapy, while we are able to lean on the expertise and some of the global capabilities of a large pharmaceutical company such as Bayer. And so this relationship really allows us the best of both worlds, if you will, the ability to bring forward multiple product candidates across a diverse disease pipeline and cell therapy setting, as well as continued investment, as you saw, even in the breaking of ground of commercial manufacturing sites, even early on in our disease setting, early on in our company formation. And so with that, I'm just going to summarize what I've already told you, which is to tell you that Bluerock is really founded on the premise of building any cell type that we've matched to a given disease setting with the belief that those cell types give hope and a possibility of changing the trajectory of chronic degenerative diseases for which we've failed these patients as a larger industry and for which this group, of course, in cell therapy, believes most earnestly that we have a chance to bring forward. So with that, I take any questions and thank you for your time.